Okay, in this one, let's try to talk about Zodiac and and the procession of the Zodiac, how it goes around, um, and by each house that you have of that, it's kind of like an extra deity to pray with. But I don't know, maybe it's not an extra one. Maybe it's actually the one that's in control that they're going to like baseball card and bicycle spokes as it goes by. Tag, 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 tag. They change each one. There's hints made to it that it goes on zodiacal houses. Um, One key point, I guess, is that we're going into Aquarius. We are in the dawning of the age of Aquarius, and we're into it. Actually, it happened right there at the end of the 50s. And if you noticed, it turned into hippies and love and all kinds of flower power, knowledge about stuff. And since then, we've not really had a war. We've gone into this moon go to space thing. That was our, it's like a foot race back in the Olympics. How we've, strange how that just changed a little bit. But Thoth, who would have been Mercury, or Ningshita, um, was the one that was going around trying to impart people with extra special knowledge. And it said that he was going to come back in this age. And I think it alluded to the fact of when he left, that it would be 3,400 years before he'd be back. And so when that would end up being, since it's 2,160 per deal, as he left at like 1400 BC or whatever. So that's going to be, I'll see you in Aquarius, on the dawning of the age of Aquarius. We're already into it right now. And the things that they're telling you in the song, too, by the way, oddly, are fixing to come true. And one of the signs in Revelation is about to come true with the lady with the seven crowns and the water at her feet and having a baby and everything off of it. And of course, everybody goes, "Well, there's your Antichrist," you know. And, man, I don't find an Antichrist other than later Catholic stuff. Whenever they've come up with this whole hierarchy of hell and all this Dante's Inferno bullshit, I don't see where he's supposed to come back. The Antichrist. Now I see where it's prophesied that the original creator, which would have been Enki, is going to get his shot at it, and I think we're looking at it. It may not look so fancy, but they're not allowed to just go wham. You've got to climb your way up, and look at how we're not. I mean, we are taking off. I mean, F-16 style, going to peel straight up. You know, I'm going to lose my lunch. It's amazing what your grandparents saw happen. Go from no cars to cars and TV, radio. People went to the moon. I mean, it probably doesn't, wow. You know, let that sink in. Things hadn't changed since Roman times pretty much with carts and things. We had a few advancements with gunpowder and so on until we developed that engine that could go and people started applying it correctly and made the world a smaller place. That is what helped to change everything, and you never know who led somebody to do that. But most people would call that divine. Anyhow, yeah, as it is in heaven, so it is on earth. And you wonder what that means. And it's pretty simple when you look at it on the Sumerian situation. It's basically like whatever goes down up there makes things down here go differently. Well, what do you mean? Well, if they get into a big fight and somebody does this, that, and they make some decree, you better watch out. Who better watch out? Whoever there who lost the fight, you know, or whatever. That, you know, the Olympians used to look like you played a chess match to see what was going to happen, or you did things like that. It was just all a big pawn situation. I'm not sure that type of thing didn't go on either. Where they'd be like, okay, well, I want to keep my Amalekites. And he'd be like, yeah, well, it's either your Amalekites or your Philistines. Well, I tell you what I'll do. I'll take my best Philistine, I'll put him up against you. And if your guy beats him, then you can have him. And it's got to be somebody who can wear an ephod. What? So he can talk to you and have your thing. So he gets screwed into David and Goliath. Or, I'm not even gone into that and thought how deeply that could go, but you follow me what I'm saying. Sometimes I seem like I just ramble on there. I don't know. I've looked back at some of my videos and I go, am I rambling or are people following what I'm saying? I mean, it seems like once you know this stuff to a point, you'll be right with me constantly. But until you get there, I don't know how I come across to people, But so it is on heaven as it is on earth. And you hear that a lot, and as it is in the heavens. And that's kind of like where you see the zodiac, the zodiacal houses. Well, why does things look like the zodiac controls anything or has anything to do with it? Or maybe that's the way things go, you know? Not that whenever it becomes Aquarius that all of a sudden Inanna or, somebody gets to be, Venus gets to be the queen of everything. But because if that's the case, then when Inanna was the queen of everything, it should have been in that. But it didn't. Well, how about that she was under the Ram guy, and she was the biggest one that's off that during Aries, and that was during her era. And it wasn't a male, it was even a female, but it would have been the highest structure, and she took over, and she did a lot. In fact, they worshipped her as much as they worship any of these guys, any of them. There were more people that were worshiping percentage-wise to the population of Inanna than there has ever been to Christianity, even to this day. If you look at it at one point. At one point, the major population of the world would have been Babylonian and all that, and there was only like 2 or 3 groups that weren't, and there was a hell of a lot of groups that were. Well, everywhere. And if they didn't think they were worshiping Isis, and that's the same thing. Or the Hindu goddess. She has many arms and everything off of it. Yeah, that's so they can make it seem like everything. That lady had an envoy with her making things happen. That's how things happen. She knew how to bureaucracy. She had people in place. I had a piece of paper in one of my things here where she had like 26 people, not counting priests, that were just helping run her legislation and stuff that was going on. It's like she had a guy for if it happened in the morning, the afternoon, and evening for each little thing that happened off of it. And was it agriculture? Was this? She's got it all knocked out. She's got 36 Abgul priests and 12 majors. She's got a lot. You look at what Venus had during the time that her heyday too and stuff, and she did too, till she did something to threaten Hera, and then that was over. Well, in our story, Hera had already been gone, or maybe she's the one that loses it in the Tiamat battle. It doesn't say they're male or female, these helpers of them, but I don't know. Hercules had 2 helpers too, and if you have that story and you give it to Heracles, Hera's domination, Hera's attacker. Well, does he attack Hera? No, he's Hera's attacker. He's in the name of her. He's her bloodline continuing on doing something. That's my grandkid tearing ass, and we're gonna put it under my name. Sorry, I didn't get much sleep at all last night. I don't get a lot of sleep here lately. I don't know. It's just tearing me up sometimes. But star processions do reflect either what goes down here or what goes on up in their um, spaceship, up in their control center, up in the heavens, if you will. It's possible that when dominion is reestablished after the deluge, that our first Lord was displaced to the Abzu, so Enlil the second could take over, and that is the point where you do see everything go knock wild. And there's alluded to a long time ago a big fight that happens in heaven too, and I have found knowledge that once they start commemorating you to the stars, it's a thing where you're dead and they still show you. Like Kingu, who gave himself up to save everybody, the queen. Whenever he had his head cut off, it rolled over and faced her as he stopped and died. And to commemorate that moment so it's never forgotten for anybody, we have the moon. The man in the moon's constantly looking at you and he doesn't turn away. So, and oddly enough, that was there for them to be able to do it. Well, oddly enough, in the story where everything started, he was Kingu in the first place. So is this all some kind of destiny situation for them and therefore us? And we're going to go through with, yeah, the creator of all, I think, has something like this going on, and they perhaps even knew it and tried to thwart destiny and found themselves, even though they got to go like that for a minute, they still ended up the same place that they were going to be. So, yeah, it's my kitty. Yep. So, um, so Kingu, yeah, he becomes a lot important. You know, he's attached to Mamu and things, but Kingu also, to commemorate him, people don't even make these connections. But they say to commemorate him, he'll have a spirit. He's the one that's body was used in the blood that helped to make Adamu in the first place. So they kept his DNA, and his DNA was passed on into Adamu. So he becomes a little more important that way. He's a lunar deity. He causes the tides to move. He's all of that in a bag of chips, too. They put a lot on this man. He was very integral, but we don't get to know much about him because apparently he got beheaded and killed right off in the first thing that happens in the first deal with Tiamat and making everything work out correctly. It's in that battle right there that he loses his head. Then he's forever living on in heaven. So they have these people and they live for long lifespans and they go up to heaven and they're able to go back and forth and they go away for a year and come back and it's only been a year, but it's been 3,400 years here. So man, look at these guys live forever. But it looks to me like these guys only are going to live somewhere between 1,000 and about 5,000-6,000 years. You might pull off 10, and I think that's whenever they stay in space or they do something like that. They make illusions to whenever they come here that the radiation and even just the fact of being on the planet trying to do this is racing their life, and that guys that went back and stayed for a while and then come back here look like they have stayed young while we got older, much older, 3,400 years versus, so you've lost half your life. He said that to, I believe it was Nama, yeah, whenever he showed up, and he says, man, you remember we were in class together, and we were in school together, and you've gotten a lot older, whereas I seem, she said, wow, yeah, you haven't got any older. You haven't changed a bit. And he kind of alluded to the fact, well, you have. So they tried to fix that, and that was their little elixir of life they came up with, and it's tried to help out and shed off the radiation effect somehow and rejuvenate and rejoin and get going. And they found it in secret places on the earth and got it going, and they allude to the fact they may have brought it from someplace else, but and they hid it in special places that mortal man wouldn't normally find or reason for. So in other words, if they did find it, it wouldn't be in a place where somebody was been like, wonder what weird botanical things I can get here. Um, but Gilgamesh does find it, and he does get it, but then somehow in the night a snake takes it away from him and so on. So apparently somebody hooked up with Enki says, no, we've already made this decision on your behalf. You're not gonna be immortal. Your father wasn't immortal, like you tell in the epic, and you're not gonna be immortal too. Well, I'm 3/4 immortal. Yeah, so you're gonna have a good long life, but you're not gonna be immortal. Then he ends up getting killed. So and he doesn't die at an old age like the Conan looking type thing, sitting on a throne. He gets about there, but he doesn't get to finish off correctly. Or he dies from natural causes from something real young, has a heart attack at 45, 50. But Kingu gets known for a lot of things. Kingu, people don't think of this, but Kingu is the reason we gave down kingship. And these first Galu priests were supposed to have been Annunaki hybrids and or the Nephilim. Well, not the ones that are the angel hybrid in that way, the ones that they have hybrided an Adama and put Kingu in it. And that's going to be those first priests that they ran the things with. And of course, the first priests were kings. It was priest kings. And so they called them kings. And that comes from Kingu. So, pretty valuable guy there. Anyhow, I had a few other things written on here. I guess what it's. Oh yeah, we were talking about Pisces is one of the signs and everything, and that's two fish. They seem to be fighting, one spitting at the other, and so on. And a lot of people have tried to equate that to a lot of things, and these twins, and these guys and everything. And it could very well be the twins for these guys, and it could very well be something else. In the Sumerian thing, I think it's Enki pissed off at Enlil, or Enlil squirting water at Enki. Or is it Enki squirting water at Enlil and Enlil's pissed off, kind of in a joke matter? Well, they say, oh, it's just breeding carp. Well, if you ask the Oannes people what that is, that's the two people that first came in discussing and arguing over how they would teach man. That was the first thing on that. So there's your people came from fish crap that you get too. And that even passed all the way up into evolution. They had that was coming from fish for a good long while, and they still have people that try to talk that crap. And the reptilian fish thing, but I tell you again, it's just their scale armor. When they showed up to people that were basically wearing underwear, they didn't really know what armor was and scales and things. And if they freaked out and ran up and threw a rock at him, it just bounced off. And then the guy was like, "Wow, the dude just chucked a rock at me." And they're like, "Oh, he's not even hurt." Well, of course not. He's got armor on, but and then he starts, and of course he's amazing. If he would have pulled out a big lighter right then and flicked his big lighter, I'm sure they would have just fell to the ground. So it doesn't take much with people when they don't have much. Clearly, whenever ancient man went to places deep in Africa, way off in the Amazon and stuff, and showed up, and all they've got's a little bit of extra things and take pictures of you, they thought they had magic voodoo and they were gods. They thought the Spanish people were gods when they showed up. That's another weird one, though. We'll have to go into it at a different time. They showed up and they were white, and they had beards and stuff, and they go, "Oh, our gods that started everything over here are white and have beards." And they looked around and they said, "Nobody here has a beard. Do y'all shave?" And they go, "No, we don't grow hair." And he was like, "Well, who is this God thing?" And he goes, "You should know." And they're like, somebody's been here. Are they talking about Columbus? He had a little on his chin. They're like, "No, he had a big beard. Come, I'll show you a picture of him." And they showed a picture. I think, I'm too bad I can't have one and put it up right here right now. Maybe I can find one. But yeah, he's got a beard. And no American Indians or South Americans really grow beards at all. And it kind of gives you a hint to how they got their startings over there. I think that's pretty good for this time. We'll go into South Americans soon. Thank y'all. We'll see you soon.